Today, we are pleased to invite and host Qazi Ahmed from Bangladesh. We're going to be talking to us about resilient leadership in challenging times. I can literally say Qazi is a bold man because he's the president of the Learning and Development Organization in Bangladesh. He's the founder president. He has over 2,500 training sessions to his credit across the world in just about every continent, including far-flung places like Afghanistan, Nepal, Denmark, very, very wide spectrum of coverage. He has also been recognized for a significant contribution to the training field in Bangladesh itself, and he has received multiple awards, one of which is the Global Training and Development Leadership Award. Mr. Qazi, it's our pleasure to host you today. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kaushik. I loved your bold man introduction. I hope you can hear me fine and possibly also can see me.
All systems good.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for once again. I realized that apart from the fact that I manage my life as a project or the work I do, many of the works I do has a beginning and an end, and in that sense, I'm into project management several times, many times every day. But I'm not a technical person when it comes to project management. So this could be a very different, non-technical, I would say, very softy topic for the audience. But at the same time, that's why it could be very interesting for you and perhaps very challenging for me, because as I will talk, as I will share slides, you will be able to connect easily. So I see we have at least 6 different audiences. There are project managers who are senior, mid-level, and some entry-level. There are consultants, entrepreneurs, students, academicians, and even few CXOs. This is a wide spectrum, so I don't know to what extent I'll be able to do justice to everyone, but I can assure you my coordinates will be with the organizers so that if you can reach out to me, you can. For the reasons that probably I only know, I would rather go a little faster. I studied in Japan, in the US, but in Japan, I tried Shinkansen, which is called bullet train. So I may go a little faster because these are not completely new stuff. So bear with me. I have not given credits for the pictures and everything in the slide, but when you get them, I will make sure you get those credits when I use those pictures and from where I took them. So having said this, I will do these 3 things with you in the next 19, 18 minutes. I'll clarify what resilient leaders are, or resiliencies rather, and then independently, traditionally, what is leadership? Having done this too quickly, I'll go into what is resilient leadership, and an organization which has 20 years of background in research, evidence-based work. I have some exposure to them. I can't say too much, but I will draw on their ideas and so on. And then I will share a couple of tips on how each of us, the uninitiated as well as the passionate, to become very resilient and to become a resilient leader. Resilient leadership. I think Priya, I just heard she was talking about inclusive leadership. So the word leadership, and if you use a prefix, and it becomes so many different kinds of leadership. Huh? So I have this resilient leadership. So let's move on to the next slide. It takes a little while, I guess. Yeah. So a simple dictionary definition. what is resilience? You probably know it, but I still want to start from the beginning in case anybody doesn't know. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, from challenges. So to qualify as a resilience or resilient leader, you have to fall into a difficulty and then you need to recover. You have to have that toughness. It can be about organizations too, where you have the ability, or even an item like nylon has excellent elasticity, so that's also resilient. Now, probably in common parlance, we can say if you have the ability to bounce back, or in this case, bounce forward, you are resilient. It's very obvious, simple, done. Next, I want to go to what is leadership. Again, a very obvious thing. If you look at on the upper left corner, you see when I put leadership, I think it was yesterday evening, and it says 2.6 billion hits and in 0.45 seconds, less than a second. So you can imagine there are so many definitions, so many perspectives, so many theories. No way I will go into that. But I want to share at least two quotes that I love. First one is, well, back in 1970, it was said by one of the gurus, James McGregor Burns, leadership is one of the most observed and least understood phenomena on earth. Hey, you knew it. It is. Everybody talks about it, but very few people can agree most of the time. But it's okay, because leaders can be different size, shape, height, color, sexual orientation, you name it. That also makes it very inclusive, Next one, I really like this one for some reason. And this is a former, long time back, maybe 100 years back. He is John Quincy Adams, the former US president. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. So clear, Because you have influence, because you're a role model. We'll come back to that with some other ideas. Now, if you insist that I recommend you a definition, I love this one. And the reference will go to ICLIF in Malaysia, I think the Institute of Leadership and Governance and so on. I love this definition because it says leadership is the art of harnessing human energy. There's human energy in the organization, and then you harness it. Why? For what reason? To create a better future. Wow. I think you're not a leader unless you have a vision for a better future, and then unless you are human, people oriented, and then, of course, to achieve the vision, you harness that energy. Pure and simple. Now, if I would recommend one particular book and two researchers, James Kouzes and Barry Posner, for the last 30 years, I don't know any other researchers and professors who has been updating their book. This is the 6th edition of the book. And they asked thousands of people, by now probably 75,000 people all over the world. So, and they asked one simple question. When you have a leadership experience, you felt like, yes, I was a leader. You felt it that there was a leadership experience, or you saw somebody who seemed like a leader, but mostly the first one. You felt you acted like a leader, and it was very clear. Then, what were those behaviors? So I don't want to theorize, but those were, for the 30 years, it has been refined in different organizations, different teams across the world, actually. And they came up with 5 practices of exemplary leadership. So as I said, if you want to read one book and if you want to follow one methodology, that's my recommendation. But no way, they will not pay me for recommending them. This is because I really read the book, I really like the ideas, and so on and so forth. So these are the 5 from their website, of course. And it says it, as you can see, I almost don't have to explain it. First one is, if you are a leader, then you are a role model. If you are not a leader if you don't inspire a shared vision, not just your vision. You understand your team, you understand your family member, you understand your customers, and then you create a shared vision. Well, whether it's Facebook created it, whether it's my company Future Leaders created it, and whether Bold is doing it, and your organizations in your country. So third, challenge the process. I'm not yet going into resilient leaders. I'm talking about leadership style, the mainstream leadership. So challenging the process. A leader would not accept the status quo. They would always go little. I will later tell you, they want to be comfortable being uncomfortable, meaning they want to come up with new ideas. That's why today's session and this theme matches, that entrepreneurial innovation is here. That project manager thinking, how can I improve it? How can I make it better? Its current process is this, but things can be made better. Fourth is, of course, we are saying how to enable others to act. And finally, enable others to act means you develop them, you coach them, you train them when training is necessary, but mostly you empower them. And encourage the heart is simple. You celebrate, you appreciate, and so on. So far, you came to know about what is resilience and what is leadership in mainstream. Now, this one particular website and its researchers, the Resilience Institute from New Zealand, I think we have to give credit to Dr. Hansen. For the last more than 20 years, actually, he's been working on leadership and resilience. That means resilient leaders. And these are just images from the work that he does. I think he'll be very happy to know that I'm promoting the company, but no relation. But I'm saying the due credit is not shown here, but it will be shown. So in other words, if you take a 60-question assessment, they bring your liability as a leader and asset as a resilient leader, liability as a resilient leader. And there's a spiral. There's a spiral of resilience, they call. So let me tell you first the two things that each organization needs. These are their objectives consistently. And one is, of course, they want to reduce risk, no doubt about it, and unnecessary suffering, because problems and pains, who wants to take it? Second, they want to raise the productivity of the talents, and so that each talent, each employee, each team member enjoys what they do, whether from home right now, or if situations change, and with social distancing they can work in these challenging times, it's fine. But here it is. They have all the technology, and you can do this. I'm showing this because for the last 20 years, they've worked in Europe, in Asia, in the US. So they have a lot of data, a lot of research. And this is how they define their assets and liabilities of resilient leaders. So now I'm coming to, because I don't want to talk about my definition. I want to take you to somebody for 20 years, did research with so many thousands of, teams, individuals, and organizations, and they see spirit in action, whether it's there or not, then you're resilient. Do you train your mind? Do you engage your emotion in a positive sense? Do you energize body, meaning eating, moving, sleeping? Eating healthy, moving means exercise, and of course, sleep enough hours, 7 to 8, but then individual differences may be there. And then finally, can you master stress? These are your assets. And then those are your liabilities. If you're confused, if you're disengaged, sometimes I hear, 80% people are disengaged. Even I read in one of the famous polls that only 13% are actively engaged, the rest are disengaged. Anyway, withdrawn, vulnerable, distressed, and depressed. So sorry, doesn't sound right. But what they did for the last 20 years, they created a resilience ratio. If your asset is more than the liabilities, often that is the case, by the way, then you have a resilience ratio. I'm going to the next slide and you will see. This is the global resilience ratio, 1.9:1. Now, what does that mean? That means if one is, let's say in this case, is your liability, then 1.9 is your resilience, is the asset score. So in a way, it sounds very good that most of the people, global average is better. Well, of course, otherwise we would not have been as productive as we are. You can understand clearly. So this is very interesting from their Resilience Institute Global Report. They even have countries report. I will not spend too much time, but you can see Netherlands is way above average. The average being, as you can see, 1.9, and then the Netherlands is 2.08. USA in this list is at the lowest among these countries. Actually, there are other countries I'm sure even lower, and then only Asian country, I guess, here is Singapore, also not faring not well. New Zealand, the home country of the researchers, they're at the average level. So Europeans seem to be, the Germany, France, Netherlands, are more resilient. Sorry, I don't have any figures here for Bangladesh or for India, but that's interesting that you now know in terms of resilience leadership, they even have a score. So I have to move a bit faster now. If you want to know one person, one leader who is the epitome of resilient leadership, I just don't want to mention it. Leader of leaders in the world, it has been dubbed, because for more than 26 years he was in a prison, and yet when he came out of the prison, he went for reconciliation. Imagine the resilience. Everyone was thinking about in what way he will retaliate. Instead, he embraces the inclusiveness again. I think of Priya Patra again. So it always seems impossible until it's done. How it is done, of course, is difficult, but then again, you get up. If you fall 8 times, you get up 9 times, whatever, but you get up. That's the point. So quickly now, I will share 3 tips with you. And these are respond, recover, and thrive. Because of time constraint, I may not be able to do justice in detail, but let me move on. So first one is how to respond. Whether you're a project manager, academician, student, and all these articles for listening, listen to this. This is also self-leadership I'm talking about. If I'm not able to lead myself, how can I lead others? That's the basic question you were asking. So this is your response ability. Well, you see, it's not responsibility, but responsibility. What does it mean? Let's see quick case studies. You probably know this gentleman, huh? Of course, Viktor Frankl. During the Second World War, of course, he was in Austria, a famous psychiatrist, and yet Hitler's army takes over Austria. They become, he's a Jew, and he is taken into the concentration camp. And imagine a highly qualified person and a respectable citizen and a good human being in the concentration camp. And one by one, people are dying. Why I'm bringing him? Because he had this amazing thing. Amazing because they were making him naked. They were doing experiments with him. But many others lost hope. But listen to or read what he said. He was saying, everything can be taken away from a man, but one thing, meaning the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Anything can happen from outside, but how you proactively respond, not react. Old idea, but this is one of the best examples the world has seen. A quick second example, if you will, is this. His name is Stockdale, and he was of course, Navy pilot. But during Vietnam War, he became of course, his plane was shot down in North Vietnam, and of course, he got caught and he was in a prison. Now, why I bring him up, how did he respond? That's the question. What was his mindset? While all other soldiers, he was a senior officer, while all other soldiers were, oh my God, what will happen? He had, look at this wise called paradox. At the bottom it says, retain faith that you will prevail. He was punished, he was tortured. You cannot imagine, read about him on Wikipedia. But he did not yield. And at the same time, because he had the belief that one day I will overcome. But he was confronted with the most brutal facts. You read it about him. If you read Good to Great, in Good to Great, Jim Collins actually interviewed him. And there he said, many other soldiers died because they felt they were in a negative way optimists, not realistically optimists. They felt, oh, by Christmas, they will let us go because America, is requesting them. And the Christmas came and went. By Easter, they will be released. By Thanksgiving, and they were never released. And many died, not because they were under punishment or torture, but they lost hope. That's why they died. So now you know all from Seven Habits and from many other literature, we have two circles. One is the circle of influence and the other is the circle of concern. Now, many of us, this is the outside, the blue zone, we have no control. The number of ventilators in the COVID sense, COVID-19, the economy, but there's no point in worrying about that. But go to where you have control. You have social distancing, hand washing, finding new ways to stay in touch with others, meaning through technology, the way we are doing now. And see, look, in Netherlands, what they're doing, they are happily enjoying outdoors with full safety and security, meaning what they have controlling. Look at what in Brazil they're doing. It's been 2-3 days back, AFP.com. So they have plastic arrangements, and the hands are in plastic and they're hugging. I think in this case, the mother is sick and the daughter or someone has come and hugging. We can do this and we are doing it. So that was the first one. Respond whichever you can. Don't think about things that you don't have control over. Think only about where you have control. Next one, tip 2, recover. I give this picture because now recover is you manage yourself, but that's not enough. You have to manage your team members, your family members, others. So leading self, that was, but now leading others, managing others, caring for others. So it's very important to know that we were actually very negative from the beginning. If you talk to biologists, evolutionary biologists, they'll tell you how we grew up from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens to now. Oh my God, we are negative all the time. If there are 25 negative incidents, there are 2 positive ones. The red represents negative and the green represents positive. So our brains are actually automatic negative thoughts. A and T S. In the brain, there are ants. There's all auto, I hate, I fail. Oh, I cannot do this. No. Even as I speak, I look at time and I say, oh my God, I'm not be able to manage time. So all these are very natural. And I hope I haven't gone too fast for you, but these are very obvious things. So, and then you watch, this is today's BBC, CNN. Yes.
This is Shaun here. Sorry, I'm interrupting you a bit.
Sure.
But if you could summarize your whole content of it. Yeah, thank you.
Correct. No, and then this is I think the main thing where you become positive, you connect, communicate, and collaborate. So if I say these are the 3 things if you do, you connect with your colleagues, no matter how difficult it is, how uneasy you feel, and then first connection is done, and then communication is a 2-way street because you need to communicate well, understand their needs, empathize with them, and then wherever the challenges are in your organization, in your team, then you don't have all the answers. So you might say, let's collaborate and let's find out a solution. I think these are the 3 things that comes out in the entire discussion that I wanted to discuss with you. Thank you for listening, and I'm ready for question and answer. Thank you very much.
We do have a quite number of questions. Since we are running a little bit of over time, I just want to pick
Sure.
up one which has been asked by quite a number of participants. They talk about that today when we are in this world where every one of us are all locked down and most of us have our teams as well as our subordinates working from home. So it's very difficult to really establish a lot of communication with them. So in those cases, what would be your recommendation in terms of leadership styles? And how do we keep motivating the team?
Thank you. Of course, as I said at the beginning, and this is the main, those three tips came, but the main theme was how do you respond? Responsibility. So your responsibility is to build trust, I believe, as a leader. As a leader, your job is to create other leaders. So you are their role model. So how you behave, how you present yourself, is so important. If they don't see you, that also has a meaning. That they are seeing that they are not seeing you. So you cannot hide. I would say you reach out. That's why I said connecting is so important. Even if you don't have all the best words now, but people will feel that is not hiding because you have the courage to confront to the difficult question. And second thing I would say is, as a leader, your humility should be very high. So there may be challenging discussions. So with all humility, you accept and then you try to collaborate, communicate, and come to a solution. That would be my answer.
Thank you. With the topic that you had, we can have hours of discussions on that. But yes, of course, we are always constrained on time on a conference. So thank you once again, and thank you for joining us for conference.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you. Dhanyabad. Apnader shobaike. PMI West Bengal Chapter especially. I'm staying on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.